Welcome to our webinar for the Aboriginal Languages Initiative 2018-2019, supporting BC Proposal Development, sponsored by First Peoples Cultural Council and the Department of Canadian Heritage. The information provided in this webinar will include a description of the Aboriginal Languages Initiative program, which we will refer to as ALI, program eligibility, an overview of the application, tips for filling out the ALI application, some common characteristics of unsuccessful proposals, and grant writing support for writing a strong language grant proposal. The application form, funding guide, budget form, and BC language and dialect list can be found on our website at www.fpcc.ca/language/programs/ALI.ASPX. The Aboriginal Languages Initiative supports the preservation and revitalization of Aboriginal languages through community-based projects and activities. Eligible strategies include participatory programming, such as language immersion, and resource development, including documentation. Funding for this program is subject to the renewal of the Aboriginal Languages Initiative, Department of Canadian Heritage, and commitment of funds in the federal government. Eligible applicants for the ALI include Aboriginal incorporated organizations or societies, independent Aboriginal community groups that include ad hoc committees, Aboriginal service delivery and voluntary organizations, Aboriginal academic institutions, Aboriginal cultural, educational, and recreational organizations or centers, Aboriginal youth and women's organizations, and non-Aboriginal organizations working in partnership with Aboriginal organizations. Now that we have provided an overview of the ALI program and its eligibility requirements, let's take a walk through the application form for 2018-19. The first page of the application provides important information about the application deadline, project funding amounts, and program reporting deadlines. Read this page carefully before starting your application. The application deadline for the ALI program is Friday, December 15th, 2017 at 4:30 p.m. Only hard copy applications will be accepted. The FPCC is accepting proposals to the ALI for grants for up to $50,000. Multi-year funding is available for projects that span over 2 fiscal years. Year 1 runs from July 1st, 2018 to March 31st, 2019. Year 2 runs from April 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020. If you choose to submit a multi-year application, you'll need to complete the following for each fiscal year: 2 different resource and/or participatory tables, 2 different budgets for Year 1 and Year 2, 2 different work plans for Year 1 and Year 2. You can choose to submit applications for Year 1 only, as funding will remain available in Year 2 for the 2019-2020 call for applications to be launched in fall 2018. Please refer to the funding guide for further information about multi-year agreements. Make sure that all items on the application checklist are completed and included in your application before submitting. Please complete this page and include it with your application to confirm that your application is complete. Only completed applications will be accepted. Please complete the required applicant identification information on the form. Make sure that the organization name that you include is the name of the legal grant payee. General liability insurance coverage for up to $2 million is a requirement for all organizations applying for ALI funding. Please see page 6 of the funding guide for more information. The information on this page provides FPCC with an overview of your organization and its experience in delivering projects. Make sure to include any previous or current funding that your organization has received from FPCC. Please indicate the total funding amount requested from ALI. If you are requesting funding for Year 1 and Year 2, make sure to add up the total funding request for both years. Please indicate whether your language strategy is participatory or resource development, or both. Identify your target group for the project and the total number of participants you anticipate for the project. Please provide a detailed description of your project. This includes key activities and deliverables, or resources created, and what the project outcomes will be. We highly recommend developing your project description after you have determined the rest of the project details. Make sure to identify your project start and end date. Please note that one-year projects may not start before July 2018 and must be completed by March 31st, 2019. Projects that span 2 years must be completed by March 31st, 2020. Provide a summary of your project activities, objectives, and expected results. If you are applying for 2 years, make sure to include this information for both Year 1 and Year 2. Please identify the key members of your project team and their skills and responsibilities related to the project. Make sure to indicate the number of First Nations communities that will directly benefit from this project. Please identify any organizations or institutions that will be involved in the project and clearly identify their role in meeting the project objectives. If any of the proposed activities are a continuation of those carried out in the previous fiscal year, please explain how the project has evolved from the previous year. Please see page 10 of the funding guide for more information. Provide a rationale for your project by identifying how its objectives will meet the needs in the community. Describe how you will evaluate your project in terms of measuring success, project monitoring, and how language skills development for participatory activities will be measured. Appendix 1, the project work plan, describes tasks required at each step of the project. If you are submitting a 2-year proposal, you must complete 2 separate work plans, one for each year of the project. The work plan template contains 3 steps: project preparation, project implementation, and reporting on results. For each step, you will need to clearly describe the tasks to be completed at each step of the project, the timeline for when each task starts and is completed, the deliverables for each task, and the person or persons responsible for ensuring the task is completed. Make sure to include the completed work plan with the rest of your application. Describe your communication plan for the project, including how you will communicate about the project and the project outcomes to your target or priority groups. There are 2 types of strategies. Participatory strategies include language learning activities. Resource development strategies include archiving and documentation. Projects may include a maximum of 2 strategies either within or across these categories. If you are submitting a 2-year proposal, you must complete the following tables for each year of the project. You can either add an extra column for Year 2 or copy the table on an additional page and include it with your application. If your project involves a participatory strategy, you'll need to fill out the participatory strategies table. If your project involves 2 participatory strategies, please add an extra column or duplicate the table on an additional page. If your project involves a resource development strategy, you will need to complete the resource development table. If your project involves 2 resource development strategies, please add an extra column or duplicate the table on an additional page. If the following declarations are agreed to, have the appropriate person with signing authority sign the application. Please fill out all project expenses in Appendix 2, the project budget sheet. If you are submitting a 2-year proposal, please fill out a separate budget table for each year of the project. Make sure to indicate which year of funding is being represented on each sheet. Under Revenue, please identify the total funding amount being requested from FPCC for the ALI program. If you are receiving funds from a secondary funder, or if you have in-kind funding, please include the amounts in the appropriate lines. Under Revenue Source, identify each expenditure or project cost. Please indicate the cost for each expenditure that will be covered through the ALI program and the amounts covered by other revenue sources in their respective columns. Make sure to provide a detailed breakdown of how each cost is calculated. Please note that administration expenses cannot exceed 10% of the total requested amount and must not exceed 15% if transportation, meeting, and food expenses are included. Add up the total project costs and total administrative costs to calculate your total expenditures. Make sure to sign and date the budget sheet and include it with the rest of your application. Now that we have reviewed the funding application, let's look at some tips for preparing your application package. Your application will be reviewed by a Proposal Review Committee, the PRC, made up of community members from around BC with language and project experience. Keep this committee in mind as you prepare your proposal. Provide as much relevant detail as possible, as the PRC does not know you or your community. Give yourself at least 2 weeks to develop your proposal and have a proofreader review the proposal and provide feedback. Do not include outdated letters of support and do not cut and paste from old proposals. Do provide all supporting documents required by FPCC. This can include support letters, a BCR, or a language needs assessment. Make sure you do not miss the proposal deadline date. You can also send a draft copy of your proposal to the FPCC Language Department for review and feedback. The following are some common issues with proposals that can lead to projects not receiving funding. The language methods are not clear or well thought out. Methods must match the strategies for immersion or archiving and documentation. The proposal lacks detail. There is a lack of demonstrated project capacity. The work plan is unrealistic or overambitious within the project timeline. There are multiple proposals submitted from the same community. The proposal fails to demonstrate community support. The budget is incomplete, unclear, or lacks detail. The application package is incomplete, or the application arrived past the deadline. Now let's go over FPCC's proposal review process. When applications come in, FPCC staff review the proposals for eligibility. Does it meet the program criteria? Has the requested proposal documentation been provided? And what is the applicant's past reporting record? All proposals are reviewed by a Proposal Review Committee, or the PRC, that consists of community members and language experts with extensive knowledge of First Nations languages and communities in BC. The PRC reviews the applications and recommends successful applicants to FPCC. The application deadline for ALI 2018-19 submissions is December 15th, 2017 at 4:30 p.m. Please mail applications to First Peoples Cultural Council, 1A Boat Ramp Road, Brentwood Bay, BC, V8M1N9. Applications must be submitted in hard copy. Hand-delivered applications must be received by FPCC on or before the deadline date. Mailed applications must be postmarked on or before the deadline date. If you require grant writing support, we encourage you to access FPCC's online grant writing toolkit. The toolkit provides resources, tips, and tools to support writing strong language grant proposals. You can access the toolkit on our website at www.fpcc.ca/language/toolkit/grantwritingtoolkit.aspx. Thank you for taking the time to tune in to FPCC's ALI Program 2018-19 Funding Application webinar. If you have any questions or require assistance with your proposal, please contact Rachel Perkins at rachel@fpcc.ca or by phone at 250-652-5952 extension 208. The website application package can be downloaded on our website at www.fpcc.ca/language/programs/ali.aspx.